They weren't the headliners.
They were the headliner?
Yes. Once we got to Tijuana, 3 of the band members, including him, they took me into a hotel room and they said, we need the money now, not after the shows.
Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
We're back with another Lawyer Reacts, and this time we're covering Judge Judy. And as an entertainment attorney, and specifically someone who really focuses in music, hence the Top Music Attorney Music Business Podcast, I personally deal with a lot of disputes with record labels and even with record labels against artists. I mean, these things get so messy, and I think that this is going to be a pretty interesting case today because we have the record label bringing the lawsuit against the artist. So let's get in and see what's going on.
Record label owner Michael Crawford is suing musician Guillermo Ramirez for the cost of plane tickets, hotel rooms, and a booking fee after he was a no-show at a concert.
Mr. Crawford, do you have a band?
Yes.
Are you the head of that band?
Yes, I run a record label too.
Okay. This case has to do with a tour. Was your band involved in the tour?
Yes, we were part of the tour.
You needed a drummer.
No, ma'am. My band is Taipan. His band is Bang Rock. It's one of the bands that was on the tour with us.
So his whole band was with you?
Yes, ma'am.
And how many people are in your band?
4.
And what position do you play?
I sing and drum at the same time.
Did Mr. Crawford pay you in advance for this tour that you were supposed to take?
I got a deposit. And
How much deposit did you get?
It's $1,500.
Okay, so as I understand this is not an artist that is signed with the record label, but this may have been kind of, a musicpreneur type, right? So record label owner kind of builds his own thing. He has his own band probably. So as we suggest here on the channel, build your own label, become your own label. And then he goes, we're going on tour. So we're going on tour and we're going to bring on other acts, which is really smart, right? So you build the lineup and then you sell that lineup to different venues and you schedule it. It sounds like that's what happened here.
Was that for your whole band, the 4 of you?
That was just a deposit. When you're booked, you get a percentage of it.
A percentage of the draw?
Of the whole payment, yeah.
Okay. And what was the first place you were supposed to go to?
We were there in Tijuana, Mexico.
And where were you traveling from?
California.
Where in California?
We traveled from Orange County.
How did you travel?
We traveled in a bus.
No airfare?
There was airfare provided, but I was not able to go on the plane. So we were flying from Tijuana to the other shows in Mexico.
Just you weren't able to go?
Well, without me, everybody was looking for me, so they didn't go as well. So
these situations come up where the big rock star singer doesn't show up for something, and that's including travel. And so we have the whole team traveling together, and then let's say the lead singer doesn't show up, and then everyone else is like, he's not here, why are we gonna go, who knows what's gonna happen? And I don't know the situation of why he didn't show up, but he goes, there was airfare provided for this travel, and then he just didn't go. Okay, so we're making a note of that. And specifically that he didn't travel by airplane, he ended up traveling on the actual road.
well, it's kind of ruined.
Was the first show in Tijuana, Mr. Ramirez?
Yes,
Did you appear in that show?
I was there, but
Watch my mouth. Did you appear in that show?
no, ma'am.
Did you have tickets to fly from Tijuana to your next destination?
Yes.
Which was in what city?
Monterrey? No, Mexico City is where we were flying to.
Yes, ma'am. The shows were in Monterrey and Saltillo once we were to leave Tijuana, but the plane trip was to Mexico City, and then we had a bus waiting to take us to Monterrey.
His plane ticket that neither he nor his fellow band members used was from Tijuana to Mexico City.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you paid for those tickets?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you able to get your money back?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So we have $1,500 deposit, and we have airfare. And what was the airfare?
It's right here. It's about $2,000.
not about.
It's around $2,000.
Not around.
Oh.
What is the airfare?
Yes, ma'am. It's 9.
2 things. One, when you're asking a court to help you out, they want to know specifically how much you are looking for, or if it's a jury trial, same thing. You need to actually prove your damages. So that's why she goes, no, I need to know exactly how much it is. But that also, number 2, leads us to, well, it sounds like she is likely going to award those damages, but we'll see.
$930 one direction and $800 the other direction, so $1,730.
Now, Mr. Ramirez, what happened in Tijuana?
Well,
was that once your group got there, either you and or the group got either loaded or drugged. You say somebody you think drugged you.
yes, ma'am.
But as a result of that, you didn't show up at the concert.
I was at the concert and I left to go to a store to get aspirin, and I was basically beat up and just gone.
You were at the concert and you went to get aspirin.
Yes.
Why?
Because I just needed aspirin, so I said I should go and get aspirin. So it was a
Your
bad mistake
face.
because I went out there and
Went out where?
outside of the club. And
If we have a bench trial, meaning we're doing this in front of just the judge versus having a jury trial where we have a jury of our peers, sometimes credibility, not sometimes, a lot of the time credibility comes in here, okay? So he's trying to sell this story, which may or may not be true, but let's look at the facts. He said he was at the venue. He chose to leave the venue on his own behalf. For me, just being in the industry for as long as I have and being like, you know, you're on a tour, you have a team with you, you have a whole band. A, no one has aspirin. B, if you do need something, you're the one to go run out and get it. I don't know how popular this band is, but like, there's kind of a safety thing, but also a bougie kind of thing of just like, you're not going to go run and get your own aspirin. Again, maybe he did. He's a super down-to-earth, humble kind of dude. But from a credibility standpoint, this is something that is standing out to me.
Tijuana, just in the street, and I got picked up by the police. They beat me up, robbed me. So
And where were your
Yikes.
fellow band members?
at the concert,
But they didn't play.
they didn't.
And no one was with him?
I know they're waiting for me, but I was getting beat up, and
Well, that's unfortunate. You have no evidence there with you, so I would assume that you weren't taken to a hospital, you weren't taken to a medical facility. You have no proof of this story except that you didn't show up for your job.
Well, Judge Judy, maybe he didn't go to the hospital, right? Maybe the injuries weren't that bad. Well, what we would look at instead of a hospital bill might be something like a text message, right? Wouldn't you let someone know if something had happened? Wouldn't you email or WhatsApp or, you know what I'm saying? So as far as having some kind of evidence, the fact that he seems to have absolutely nothing. Also, there's a negative inference here. From the stuff that you don't have, we can infer, perhaps, that's because it doesn't exist, and that's because something like this didn't happen.
my witness here who picked me up, I did have a black eye, did have a cut face, you know.
Could be because you got drunk and got into a bar fight. How does she know?
I actually drove out there with him and I picked him up, and he was pretty beat up, so.
Hey, maybe he deserved it. I don't know. Who knows what happened? I didn't see the other guy. Neither did you, right?
I did not, no.
Perfect. So you have to give Mr. Crawford.
Well, even his witness, he has someone there, right? And she goes, no, I went and I picked him up. He was really beat up. What did he say to her when he texted her, right? Like, doesn't she need an address? Hey, this thing just like, do you see what I'm saying here?
His money back.
Right.
I mean, you didn't play. He gave you a $1,500 deposit, and he reserved airfare for you that he says was non-refundable. When you say it's not refundable, is that because you were supposed to go the next day?
Yes, actually 2 o'clock in the morning. The show was at 11:30 at night, and as soon as the show ended, we were supposed to go straight to the airport. Well, we couldn't find Guillermo after the show, so we had to go to the airport anyway. Once we got to the airport, we were about to get on the plane, and the rest of his band members panicked because they didn't have their drummer, and they decided not to get on the plane. They actually broke up at the airport and went back to California. So then I was forced to.
There's just so much there. What do you mean? They panicked because this one time kind of thing happened again. Just going to Guillermo's defense here. Something happened and he didn't show up, and you're telling me your band at the airport broke up? Or is it because perhaps their unreliable singer, yet again, did something, like didn't show up, maybe, who knows, drugs, alcohol, like whatever the reason was. Girls, he didn't show up. He was too busy doing something else. And perhaps they were fed up. Why did they break up?
Go to the shows, to the next 2 festivals without the band. And it looked bad on me as the promoter.
Did you have any other bands?
Yes, but they weren't the headliners.
They were the headliner.
Yes.
Now,
become your own record label, which is literally if you're like, hey, I want to start a record label. Cool, I got you. Understand the entire music business. I want to set up my LLC. I want to do the marketing. It's a lot. So for example, sync licensing, for example, music marketing, it's significantly cheaper than anything you would ever get from a law firm as far as all the stuff that comes with it. And you want to make 6 figures from your music career and you want to do this for real. Like, I'm going to give you what you need.
Has he ever worked for you before?
No, this was one of the first shows I'd actually booked them for.
As a headliner?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
So far I have $3,230.
Yes, ma'am. There was another $2,500 that was supposed to be paid in parts after each show, but once we got to Tijuana, 3 of the band members, including him, they took me into a hotel room and they said, we need the money now, not after the shows.
Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
So he owes a quarter of $2,500.
Yes, ma'am.
$625. $38.50. Why did you want to be paid before?
We were just afraid that we were not going to get paid or that something would happen. And then,
Well, something happened. You didn't show up for work.
yeah, careful what you wish for.
Okay, not sure what that means. But as far as, look, as being an artist and asking for a deposit of some kind, that's generally smart, right? When you're working with it, this was a new relationship. You don't know that someone's going to come through. And I've just heard all kinds of things from, not that I suggest this, but, the people who perform, do the thing, and then the promoter won't pay them. And so then they show up with a baseball bat. You know what I'm saying? Not how we handle things. But I'm just saying, this was one thing that the defendant was doing right, as far as just making sure that he and his band got paid a little something to cover their time doing this.
I guess, right?
Ma'am,
What?
I also have the receipt from the club that I had to pay $1,500 to rent
$38.55.
for the Club Iguana.
$38.55. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're done. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Did you hear that? Okay, because he wanted 5, right? He wanted 5,000, and so she goes $38.55. So he was trying to get the additional club fee. I'm guessing she probably looked at that and she just said, I don't think so, because you would have rented the club anyway, right? Your band was on tour. I don't know if there were additional bands or if it was just the 2, but likely that's why she didn't include that as a damage. You would have incurred that either way. As you guys know, we get the final thoughts from the plaintiff and defendant. Let's hear it.
Complete panic because the band was actually on stage ready to perform.
I feel like, I was drugged.
Oh, gosh.
I felt like maybe it could have been them.
And there was no drummer to be found, so
I don't know. I just, after I went into the club and
we had hundreds of people standing there waiting for the band to play,
went there, it just felt kind of weird.
and they had to take all their equipment down and not play.
I just recall
Yikes.
getting beat up by 3 people.
We can't work with their band anymore because of
3 people or 3 officers?
this.
And then being at the border.
It's unfortunately the price of owning a record label.
If you're an artist or a band, be more professional than this. You show up, you play, you promote well, you don't destroy the venue, and then people want to book you again. For the record label, I mean, obviously they felt good enough to book these shows, and you always hope things go well. I mean, you try to do your due diligence to know who it is that you're booking, because, this is a collaboration. Like I said, it doesn't sound like it was an artist or a group that was signed to the label. They were doing this as a collaborative kind of thing. Guys, what do you think? Leave your comments down below, and I'll see you on the next one.